Okay, so hello, Aisling. Thank you for joining me today in this chat all about essences. So let me introduce you to Aisling Irwin, who is a graduate and professional of our flower and vibrational essence diploma, and also has her own business called Ruby Rua Holistic Therapies. Is that, if I said that right, Aisling?
You have indeed, Sarah, and thank you for having me here. I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah, well, it's always nice, as you know yourself, to share how essences can deeply, deeply change our lives. So first of all, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody and tell everybody about you and what you do?
Thank you, Sarah. So as Sarah said, I'm Aisling Irwin. I'm also Aisling McGreevy, and sometimes I'm not sure which one I am, but anyway, essences and are part of my life, I suppose, and the simple thing to say about it is they make me complete, because until I found essences, or I probably should say until they found me, I was still searching. I had been qualified in lots of different modalities and doing nicely with them. But it was only when the essences came along that I realized that they are the icing on the cake and they enhance everything else that we do. And what I say to my clients and to people is that essences make us feel better. And who doesn't want to feel better?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you've said everything there absolutely perfectly. So you were and still are, of course, a practitioner, an expert in different modalities. So you work with angels, right?
I do indeed. Yes, they are always with me.
Yeah, I always call the flowers the angels of the earth. So it's very beautiful. And I always get a little bit emotional. I kind of feel it happening behind my eyes when some truth starts coming through here. So you work with the angel kingdom, you work with the nature kingdom through the essences, and you also a reflexologist.
Right? Reflexologist. I also work with access consciousness, which kind of sprinklings the brain, gets rid of all the stuff that goes round and round in our heads. And I work with energy therapies. I work with Reiki and integrated energy therapy. And I really, I suppose I combine an awful lot of them, Sarah, because each one on their own is good. But when you have them all together, and as I say, add an essence on top of that, you have pure magic, you know? I call the essences my little bottles of magic, because while they make us feel better, everybody around us changes when we use them, because our vibration changes. And I have experienced it in different, with different clients, that maybe you'll have someone who's, I don't know, kind of quiet and mousy, and people around them will react sort of more in power against them. And if you give them the likes of a bit of lion essence from the wild earth animal range, suddenly they're sitting up and their voice has been heard, and the people around them start to change and think, oh, they're not the little mousy person I thought they were. And so not only do we benefit from taking essences, but the people around us change in order for us to grow and to be the person that we're meant to be.
Absolutely, it's that beautiful. Well, whenever we work with vibration, it's a big ripple effect, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's lovely to hear how you've brought everything that you do together, and it is one of my passions, is to support people or just help people to see that we don't have to partition ourselves off into different places, and that we can completely create something that is unique and specific to us, which is obviously exactly what you've done. So may I take you just a little bit, well, not a little bit, shall we go back to the beginning of your journey? I remember actually the first day we spoke. I don't remember exactly when it was, but I know it's before we came to, was it before we came to France? Yes, it
Yeah,
was, because you
was.
did some of the UK-based things, didn't you? Yes, it was.
It would
So,
have been the beginning of 2015, I think.
okay, we moved here in 2015, so it's probably about 2013, 14. Anyway, never mind, it was a while ago. So when you first heard the call of essences, what was your life like?
My life up to that point, I had been, as I said, training in all the different modalities. Prior to that, Sarah, I had been a crazy, busy person, charging around the country, doing all sorts of things. And slowly I started to slow down, to come back to me with reflexology and Reiki and so on. But I didn't quite find me. And I don't know where it came out of, but there was something about you and the course you were doing. And it appeared on Facebook or whatever. And I thought, I wonder what that is. I had no idea what an essence was, but it intrigued me to find out. And I remember ringing you and asking, talking to you about the course. And you said to me, from where you're coming from, it sounds like it would be just a lovely thing to add. But I had no idea what an essence was. I had no idea what it would do for me. I think the essences were calling me rather than the other way around. And I remember on our first meet up with all the other participants, you said, some of them were saying, oh, I've been using essences for 20 years and I use this and that and so on. And you came to me and you said, why are you here, Aisling? And I said, I have no idea in the wide world. I just know I need to be here. And it was like that final piece of the jigsaw that was bringing me back to me. It was bringing me home. And I had been missing home. When I say home, I'm talking home to me, to my soul. And the essences was that last piece of the jigsaw that I needed to allow me to delve back into myself. Now, when I started the diploma, I remember, I absolutely adored Star of Bethlehem essence. And you had said, now you need to take it so many drops, and I think it was 4 times a day. And I used to be looking at my watch thinking, oh, it's not time yet, because my body was going, oh, I would just want more of this. It was so good. And it was a wonderful experience. And then the second essence we experienced was red hollyhock. And I'm looking at it going, I'm not too sure about this one. And I would keep looking at it. And what it was doing was it was going into a place further inside me that I wasn't quite ready to explore at that time. And so I did my best to avoid it. And I remember asking you, could I just move on to the next one? And you very nicely said to me, no, Aisling, I think it'd be best if you actually persevered. And I did.
Process what was actually happening.
Yeah. But what I was trying to do, Sarah, was avoid those emotions and those feelings that I had, that I thought, oh no, I'll just put them to one side. I won't bother with them. And it was a bit of a struggle for me, but I got there. And after that, it was like the wonder of all the other essences came along. But I do remember at one stage, Sarah, writing all the different modules. And I'm looking at you smiling now because you're probably remembering. And I used to listen to everybody describing how the essences made them feel. And I'm thinking, can't be doing with all this flowery language. But I thought I better play along. And so I used to write beautifully descriptive passages. And I remember you coming back to me saying, no, not quite, Ashley, not quite there. It's because they were just words. They weren't how I was feeling until I met Oak.
Mm.
And I remember writing about Oak, and you said to me, Aisling, you've got your essence. And to this, I'm getting all emotional now, because Oak for me is home. And I found my soulmate in Oak. And no matter what I do now, Oak is always by my side.
And you know what? I think, thank you for sharing that. And as you can maybe see, my eyes are also, I'm really feeling this emotion. So you said that you were called in, and I suspect the angels had a lot to do with that.
Yes.
But also, what I'm hearing is because Oak is one of my big allies, and Oak changed my life. And so I speak to quite a lot of people who are interested in the diploma, and some of them come in and they are called by Oak. They already have. So I think Oak is a big player here. But I think what is also interesting to just speak about is that in the diploma we go through like the different energy frequencies. So red hollyhock is red, and it's kind of a root chakra kind of energy. And one of the reasons we take people through the journey that we take, which still, even years later, still looks very much like the journey you took, Aisling. The fact that you didn't get on with red hollyhock, it gave you what you needed, but it wasn't actually the vibration that you needed to help it be a joyful experience. Is exactly what we're looking for, because as a practitioner, you want to offer your clients something that's joyful and easeful. And so as a practitioner, it's about, as you know yourself, it's about having all the different experiences and thinking, well, I know what this is doing, but I don't actually like this very much. Oak is also a root chakra kind of energy.
Yes.
It gave you exactly what you needed, but in a way that you went, oh.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all looking for. So how beautiful is that?
But you know, it's funny, Sarah, when we started the diploma and we were going with the red at that point, and my business name is Ruby Rua. Rua is the Irish word for red. So I was really looking forward to the red, because I'm a fire personality, and I love splashes of red and things. So it was a bit of a shock to my system that I was struggling with it. And on the other side of it was, I really, really was not looking forward to green. And being the heart chakra, I was not quite sure I'm looking forward to that one. And I was dreading it all along. When we got to green and we had the Green Bells of Ireland essence, oh my goodness, the joy I experienced with that. It was like, wow, you know, it was pure joy. And that vibration, that's the Alaskan essences. It was just, felt uplifted and happy, and I was smiling all the time. And Pat, my husband, even said to me, I don't know what you're on right now, but it's really good.
Yeah. Well, it sounds as if, you know, a lot of had been cleared to allow you to access that. And it isn't interesting that you come from the Emerald Island. You are from Ireland, and you now live in Ireland, and that there was that vibration of your island that you were like going, oh.
Yes, but again, at times I think we fight what is inherent in us. You know, it's like, I suppose, that rebel inside. But when you come home to it, again, that word of coming home, it just feels so good.
Yeah. Well, those are powerful experiences, and it's so nice to hear them. So you've talked about, you know, how you felt when you first came in, or how you came in, as do some of our our participants actually who haven't taken essences before.
Mhm.
If you look at what we write about the diploma, we usually encourage people to know something about it. But that's not because people need to know how to take them. It's just to help signpost people that this is going to change you. So
Yes.
if you've got some sense of how essences work with you, it helps, but it's not a prerequisite at all. So we've heard about some of the things that the essences, as it is with my journey as well. You know, when I took my own flower essence journey, red was just like not a great experience for me either. Interestingly. But that it just helped me to, I think what happens is that especially with vibrational healers, we're usually much more comfortable in the etheric energies. So being asked to sit in the earth energies is not always hugely comfortable. However, what it is actually about is earthing our own vibration.
Yes.
Which is coming home, which is what you're talking about.
Absolutely. And even though I was on this path, I was still rebelling against it.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting looking back now, about trying to navigate, even though I was fully committed to
Yes.
it, there was still that part of me fighting it, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. So when did you graduate? Probably about 2016, 2017.
2017, Sarah, yes.
I do remember you came to France.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So that was 6 years ago. Wow.
I know.
I know. And you're now living back in your home country.
Yes.
We can all see that you look well and beautiful, and you have all your beautiful essences behind you. So what is life like now? Tell us a little bit about how you're feeling now and what it feels like to be home.
Well, it's interesting. I now that I've arrived home and I'm living in the most beautiful place, and we're surrounded by rolling green fields. I had never lived quite out in the country as I'm living now before, and to look out the front door, the garden is here, but there's green fields and more green fields and a mountain of green fields, and it just feels like our garden goes on for miles. And I feel so blessed and so happy to be here. I've always said my soul lives in this part of the world. And so, yeah, it feels wonderful. And we are surrounded by lovely woods and lots and lots of places that I am only dying to explore and hopefully make some essences, because it feels like they're all there, they've been there waiting for me, you know, that all I've done up to now was in preparation for where I am now.
That feels quite right. Yeah, lovely. Yeah,
Yeah.
because the journey never ends, does it? When you're the essences, the nature will always. Okay, so you got to that bit. Okay, let's start to pull the heart through to the next place.
Yeah, yeah. And I do remember during the diploma, Sarah, that we talked about making essences or producing essences afterwards. And I, at the time, hadn't really any thoughts on it. But the one thought that I had was in producing sort of more wildflower essences. But I hadn't planned on living here at the time. So there's obviously that little seed was placed back then. So we'll see where they evolve to.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
most people that have essence ranges don't actually plan on ever having an essence range, and it's not even about necessarily making them public, although sometimes it's a nice thing to do as well, but it's about having the experience of co-creating.
Yes. Well, I have found that working with clients and using essences, that the right essence comes along at the right time.
Yeah.
And suddenly there'll be one and you'll think, oh my goodness, this is just so perfect. A couple of years ago, I had a bad fall and I broke my back. And at the time I was being transported from one hospital to another, and I was dreading the journey because every movement was painful. And Sharon had come up with her mistletoe essence at the time. And it must have been on Facebook or whatever. And I spoke to her and she said she would get me out a bottle. And I used that mistletoe on my whole journey. It was a 2-hour journey. And I was counting the little beads on the mistletoe the whole way through my body. And it supported me perfectly to get me home, or not to get me to the other hospital. Now, I don't think I'd have made that journey without mistletoe, but it appeared at just the right time for me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think they do. I think we've always been surrounded by this kind of energy, but when we start to see it, and that's where taking essences, whether just personally or professionally, can start to change us, as we start to notice the helpers on the journey.
Yeah.
And always supported because they are here with us on the earth plane. They're visible, you know.
Yes.
They're
And dandelion was the other one that was hugely supportive for me. I think I had mentioned it before to you. And yeah, around that time I had a whole meadow of dandelions looking at having their heads blown off every time I would release any pain in my body. And yeah, I suppose what I'm saying, Sarah, is that there are essences there at the right time to help us in every situation. And life without essences would be very, very sad.
I know. Wouldn't it just? I was talking to another graduate the other day in another kind of in another forum, in another community, and we were talking about women going through menopause. And she is actually specializes in menopause or helping with menopause. And in her first researches, she realized in hindsight that she was talking to all women who were using essences, and they were all like going, menopause, oh, it was fine, you know, it was like, maybe it wasn't the greatest time of my life, but it's fine. And it suddenly dawned on her afterwards that what she was hearing is that people that take essences usually move through their challenges with some ease and grace that we wouldn't have found had we not done that.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying earlier. Essences just make you feel better.
Yeah.
And who doesn't want to feel better?
Yeah, there's the question. Yeah. So I would love to know, and I'm sure it would be really inspiring for others as well, how do you use essences now in your own business, in your own practice?
Okay, so I use essences in lots of different ways. If I'm doing a reflexology treatment and I find with someone that, okay, it's a physical treatment, so, but behind the pain they're feeling, the chances are there's an emotional issue. And if I use an essence to help release that emotion, then we can actually get rid of the physical pain so much faster. So they enhance that. In energy therapy, even with distance, Reiki or distance integrated energy therapy, if I add essences to my hands before I send the energy.
So is that you're sending the energy remotely?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
I had a client one time who asked me, she had an issue with her back, and she said, could I please send some energy to clear the issue in her back? And so I used one of the Bach essences at the time that relates to that part of the body. I didn't tell her I was using the essence. I added it to my hands before I sent the energy. And the next day, I got a lovely email from her. And you would think that she got my book out and transcribed all the words relating to that essence. There wasn't a word about her pain, but the emotion that she was now feeling, because the pain had gone, described the essence I used down to a T. Okay, the essence got there, you know. So they work in all sorts of ways. And then obviously with my clients that I'm working on a one-to-one, and I combine essences for what they need. And we are not one-dimensional. And so when you combine essences, they look at all the aspects to actually then come down to the one issue. And if we cover all the different areas that are like if there's fear, or maybe they need courage, or maybe they're just needing something calming to calm the vibration, and then something else to help them be a bit more courageous. We can add the two in to get the perfect combination that they need. And it is bespoke for them, and it is perfect for them at that time to take. And
I love how you speak about that, how combining essences from one range or different ranges depending on what the person needs. And of course, that's what we train you to do in the diploma in your own way. Can really look at all those different dimensions, because if we're just, this is what I'm going to say is a bit one-dimensional, but if we're just taking one essence and it's just dealing with one thing, when we take lots of essences together, I always see them as a little bit like one's the leading actor, and then we've got the supporting parts who will make the road less rocky. Like you said with your red hollyhock experience, if that had been alongside other essences, you would have probably gone through an awful lot easier. But as part of your training to be a practitioner, it's necessary to meet those bumps head on almost.
Absolutely, because if I don't experience them, I'm not going to know how my clients are going to be feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How to hold the light for them that they can see their way through.
Yes, absolutely.
I love how I continue to learn so much from all of you by speaking to yourself, Aisling. Do you have any words of wisdom for anybody who is considering making their own essences, working with essences, either professionally or just in a one-to-one with a practitioner? What would you say?
I would say that my life without essences would be very dull. And the joy that you get from essences and how your vibration changes so much using essences that enhances your life, that other people wouldn't experience this either, because it has that knock-on effect. So I would say, go in there wholeheartedly and experience what I've experienced. And if anybody wants to ask me questions, I'd be happy to talk to them. Sarah, doing the diploma absolutely changed my life, completely changed it and enhanced it in such a way that I'd never have thought before. I mean, I had no idea what I was letting myself in for. And it was life-changing, you know. I grew so much as a person and expanded, my heart expanded in every direction, having used essences. And I suppose that the lovely thing about the diploma is the people that I met along the way. And each one in turn supported me or enhanced the way I looked at things, and not in an obvious way, but in a beautiful way, because we each experience our own journey. And but as part of the diploma, you see the way everybody is progressing and enhancing their lives. So yeah,
it's inspiring, isn't it, to see how it works?
Yeah,
very similar way. And I've heard what you're saying, and I don't mean it in any other way than a fact. You know, it's just your vibration has a specific vibration, but so many people have said this changed my life. And of course it did mine massively as well. So it's just nice to share that on. Thank you so much, Aisling.
There's one thing that I'm just going to add, Sarah, because it keeps hitting me on the head here. And I have obviously, like everybody over COVID times, spent a lot of time online. And I was using giraffe essence at one stage, again from the Wild Earth Animal Range. And I was on a call one day with people that I'd been on calls many a time. And one of the ladies said to me, Aisling, she said, what have you done? She said, have you changed your makeup, or is your hair different? And I said, no. I said, everything's the same. And she said, well, every time I look at the screen, you're the only person I can see on it. And I said, the only thing I've done over the last week is take giraffe essence. And as we know, the giraffe can't hide. And that was coming from someone who didn't know that I was taking essences. So that's how different we can be with essences.
Who knew that essences were business mentors, huh?
I know.
From the inside, kind of like create situations to allow us to be more visible in whatever that means. You know, it's going to be different degrees and words for different people, but who knew?
Yeah, but giraffe kept hitting me. Talk to me, tell her about me.
Yeah, wow, giraffe would, wouldn't it? Yeah. Lovely. That's beautiful. Yeah, so beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much, Aisling, for sharing your flower story.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. I've been delighted. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.